Meet our guy. He looks like a discount Todoroki who took a wrong turn into a hot topic, but watch him absolutely liquefy an entire horde of sewer goblins with single blinding green sword strikes. He clears the entire sewer solo and stands there like a gigachad, saying how utterly boring. But the second the battle system updates and he realizes the game has a 0% drop rate, he starts crying chibi tears like a toddler who got his iPad confiscated. But to understand how this absolute clown ended up role-playing his heart out in a literal sewer, we have to go back to the beginning. Our story starts with a guy who is an absolute, unrepentant, hardcore role player. The type of guy who will spend 3 hours in character creation just to make sure his boots match his edgy vibe. He wants maximum immersion, maximum drama, and he has absolutely zero regrets about it. Well, at least he didn't, until he logged into this absolute dumpster fire of a game and realized his unstable Dark Knight build means he starts the tutorial coughing up actual blood. Now he's standing there with a broken sword getting mocked by a giant horned skull demon who is telling him to just lie down and die. And our guy is literally screaming that he wants to uninstall the game and go home. But instead of a logout button, the system just hits him with a loading screen. And then the game starts loading his character's custom backstory. It starts with his little sister running out to greet their dad, only to get instantly sliced in half by a pitch black blade. Next is his older brother, the head knight, getting taken down, followed by his older sister who tries to avenge him. Spoiler alert, it goes terribly. She gets turned into a crimson fountain. His mother screams at him to run away, while our young MC is crying, begging for someone to save them. His parents try to hold the line, but they get completely butchered in front of him. The memory gets blurry, he grabs a sword and collapses under the moonlight. But before he dies, the demon's blade pierces his right arm, sealing the monster under his skin. He's crawling in the mud, bleeding out, when a terrifying dark silhouette towers over him. The creature grabs him by the face, grinning like an online scammer who just found a fresh credit card. As the MC's eye bleeds out, a divine voice prays for a soul strong enough to overcome this malice. And then, he wakes up. He's lying in the back of a wooden cart, and some angry merchant NPC is yelling at him to get his edgy butt out of the wagon. Our guy slowly sits up, gives the merchant a silent, cold-hearted anime stare, and steps down onto the street. The merchant calls him an unlucky bastard, but as our guy walks away, his edgy facade completely crumbles internally. He is literally screaming with joy because the immersion is insane. The town looks real, the peasants look real, and the physics are perfect. If he wasn't trying to act like a brooding Dark Knight, he would be doing Fortnite dances in the middle of the street. See, the game he's playing is Legend of Heroes, a legendary Korean MMORPG that shut down 15 years ago, remade in VR. And since our guy is a hardcore role player, he decided to pick the most difficult, edgy class available, the Demon Knight. He even drew his own concept art. According to his custom lore, a demon slaughtered his family and now lives inside his right arm, constantly trying to eat his soul. If he loses control, everyone around him dies, so he has to act cold, ruthless, and completely distance himself from society. It's the ultimate Chunabu setup, and he is loving every second of it. He literally spent extra money on a fluttering coat and a clanking silver gauntlet just for the aesthetic. But now he's standing in the plaza wondering where the hell the tutorial quest window is. Usually, a guide bird or a giant arrow pops up, but there's nothing. Suddenly, a random kid NPC walks up, asking if he's the legendary Demon Knight. Our guy expects a dialogue wheel to pop up, but nothing happens. So he just leans into his character, glares under his eye patch, and says, "Lead the way." The kid is so terrified he looks like he's about to wet himself. He stammeringly offers to guide him to the Adventurers Guild. Our guy is internally laughing, thinking the AI programming in this game is god tier. He walks through the market, listening to the background ambient noise of NPCs. He's amazed at how far VR technology has come since he was a kid. The kid opens a heavy wooden door, and our guy steps inside, entering the Tatara Adventurers Guild. The floorboards creak under his boots, and he's completely mesmerized by the floor texture. A female clerk walks up to greet him, introducing herself as Isrin. She asks him to show his adventurer's token as a formality. Our guy waves his hand to open his inventory, but the UI panel pops up directly in front of his face, completely blocking his view. He has to awkwardly lean around the glowing screen to see where he's going. He grabs his silver token from the digital bag and hands it over. Isrin confirms it and says she'll guide him to the client immediately. Our guy is getting hyped, expecting his very first tutorial quest. But instead of a friendly quest giver, he's met by a bald, angry old man who tells him he looks like an absolute pain in the ass. Our guy is thrilled. He thinks this is the perfect opportunity to have a verbal fight with an NPC without feeling any real-world guilt. He decides on his line, looks the old guildmaster dead in the eyes, and says, "Your tongue lacks manners." The entire room goes dead silent. The clerk looks like her soul just left her body. Our guy is internally sweating, wondering why the NPC's reaction is so extreme. He realizes, looking at their dark, serious faces, that he might have miscalculated. The old man is shaking, and the clerks are desperately holding him back. Our guy is still waiting for a quest prompt to bail him out, but nothing appears. Isrin nervously laughs and asks why he took the quest without even knowing the details. He internally shrugs. If the game tells him to go to a location, he goes. She looks at him with deep concern, explaining that whatever is down there is extremely dangerous. Our guy, playing his Demon Knight role to the absolute max, sneers, "Those pathetic insects?" Isrin gulps, completely terrified of his sheer edge. The other guild worker steps in and says if he's really that confident, they'll hand over the job. He explains that the city sewers have become infested with demons. They sent multiple sewer workers down and not a single one returned. They want our guy to clear the nest and recover the bodies or their personal belongings. The old guildmaster mutters that every demon hunter they hired before ended up dead. He looks at our guy's pale bandaged neck and asks if he can even swing a sword. Our guy tells him not to compare him to those weaklings and that this is just sewer cleaning. The old man scowls at his arrogance. Internally, Kirieo is screaming because the NPC's reactions are so realistic that he almost feels bad for being such a jerk to them. Isrin starts preparing the official contract. Our guy asks how many workers failed to return, and the answer is 13. He's amazed that the game is progressing entirely through natural dialogue instead of menus. Then she tells him the reward, 400,000 gold, but they're taking a 5% broker fee. Our guy's gamer heart instantly shatters. Even in a fantasy world, he cannot escape taxes. Isrin hands him the document to finalize the contract. He signs his name on the parchment, and finally, the digital quest window pops up, "Cleansing the Sewers." He smiles like a happy dork, loving the classic UI. They tell him they've already booked him a room at the local inn. And then, instead of a modern mini-map, they hand him a crumpled piece of paper. It's a hand-drawn analog map. Our guy is baffled by the hardcore realism. He looks at the guild worker's face and realizes the man is genuinely worried for his life. He takes a deep breath, feeling like he's stepping onto a theatrical stage. The heavy iron gates of the sewer entrance slowly grind open. Our guy steps into the dark, damp tunnel alone. The guard behind him wishes him luck, sealing the gate shut. Our guy immediately pulls out his massive, glowing, true two-hander of destruction. A giant sewer rat jumps him, and he smashes it into paste with one hit. He stands over the bloody mess, completely silent. Then he checks his status window and gasps. The weapon's durability dropped by 1 point. The sewers are too cramped for a giant sword, and he's going to ruin his expensive gear, so he quickly switches to a standard, durable longsword. Now, he's actually ready to start the grind. He walks deeper into the dark, leaving the guard behind. The guard watches him go, muttering about how terrifying this demon hunter is. He just hopes the guy's skills are as big as his ego. Our guy disappears into the shadows of the dungeon. A short while later, he encounters the first wave of green sewer demons. He smiles under his bandages and tells the vermin to keep coming. His blade flashes with blinding green light, cutting them to ribbons. He moves like a hurricane, slicing through their ranks effortlessly. He glares at the survivors, promising to send them back to hell. The last demon's head hits the stone floor with a wet thud. Our guy sheathes his sword, muttering how utterly boring it was. His quest window updates, 71 demons eliminated, all belongings recovered. He waits for the loot drops, but not a single item materialized. He grabs his head in absolute gamer rage, cursing the trash game's stingy drop rates. He's so salty he seriously contemplates rummaging through the gross goblin corpses. But he stops because he notices a kid hanging upside down from the ceiling in some vines. With a single clean slash, he cuts the vines and catches the falling kid by his ankle with his armored gauntlet. The kid is dangling upside down, staring at him, whispering, "Thank you." The quest window updates, optional, rescue the child complete. Our guy looks at the kid, noting he's around the age of his character's dead brother. He internally praises the developers for making the game's lore feel so tragic and immersive. He gently sets the kid down on his feet. He decides his character would probably soften up a bit around children. He pats the kid on the head, saying that protecting the weak is a knight's duty. The kid looks up with wide, teary eyes. "Are you a knight?" Our guy nods, trying his best not to act like a jerk to a child. He asks why the kid was trapped down here in the first place. The kid sniffles, saying his mom went to clean the sewers and never came back. Our guy looks at him softly and tells him he shouldn't have come down here alone. The kid looks down, crying and apologizing. Kiryo's heart melts, and he internally screams about how cute this NPC kid is. But then, he has to show the child the belongings he recovered from the skeletons. The kid recognizes his mother's hammer and starts sobbing uncontrollably. He cries until he literally passes out from exhaustion, and our guy has to carry him out. Kiryo is amazed by the child actor's voice performance, finding it hard to believe it's fake. He carries the sleeping child down the long, quiet sewer corridor toward the exit. Suddenly, a system prompt flashes before his eyes: purification. It warns him to make sure demons never set foot on this land again. And our guy internally notes, if only I'd paid attention to that message, would I have had one less regret? Back at the guild, a messenger bursts through the doors screaming for reinforcements. He yells that the Merchant Guild's emergency red flare was just fired nearby. A red flare means a massive emergency with multiple casualties. In the nearby forest, bloody bodies are scattered across the grass. A terrified survivor is hiding behind a tree, covered in blood, holding his hand over his mouth as something monstrous approaches from the dark. So, little Al finally stops crying after we drag him out of that literal sewer nightmare. He looks up and asks if his mom is happy in heaven now. Our guy is forced to keep his edgy persona intact. He says yes, but internally, he is begging the game developers not to be complete psychopaths with their lore writing. We make it back to the guild, and Isrin is waiting at the door, completely clueless. She freezes the moment she sees the traumatized child. Our guy drops his voice 3 octaves, explaining that the kid was playing extreme hide-and-seek in a monster den. Then, he casually drops a massive heavy sack onto the floor. He instantly regrets it because he actually wanted to sort through the loot first, but his pride won't let him ask for it back. Isrin looks at the bag, her face turning pale as she asks if these belong to the missing workers. He gives her a classic look that says, "Do I look like a casual who leaves a job half finished?" She opens the sack and finds all 13 brass tags shining in the light. The absolute weight of this achievement hits her, and she bows so low her head almost touches her knees. She starts tearing up, thanking him on behalf of the entire guild, while he internally rants about the complete lack of quest markers. But hey, seeing an NPC deliver a performance this emotional makes the tedious manual grind almost worth it. Isrin asks if he is done hunting for the day, which makes his gamer brain short-circuit. Done? What kind of casual player logs off when the servers are still up? She suggests he take a little rest, completely unaware of his real-world situation. Our guy literally broke his actual savings account to buy a high-end, 24-hour waterproof full-dive pod. He is staying here. He asks why he would ever go back to the sewer trying to fish for a linked chain quest. Then he remembers a game mechanic called Purification and assumes she's telling him to buy a DLC spell. Isrin has absolutely no idea what he is talking about. She nervously asks if he really wiped out every single demon down there. He looks at her like she's stupid. Why else would he walk all the way back here? He unleashes his edgy dark aura, asking if she is seriously doubting his clear speed. Isrin starts vibrating with pure terror, shaking her head so fast she looks like a broken drill. She quickly takes custody of the child and runs off to grab the client. With some rare alone time, our guy finally opens up his character UI. The quest completion window flashes, and it is beautiful. A fat sack of silver coins is laid on the table. The merchant hands over the 400,000 gal, and our guy internally complains about how stingy modern quest rewards are. But the merchant throws in a massive W. They are covering the guild's 5% brokerage fee themselves. He realizes he could have made extra gold if he leveled up his butchering skill, but combat stats are always priority. He puts on his best villain grin and calls the massive fortune mere loose change. Look at the skill tree. True roleplay fanatics only pick skills that match their edgy aesthetic, even the useless ones. Thankfully, this is a single-player game, so nobody can complain about him trolling his build. He looks back at the NPCs and asks if their business is officially concluded. The prompt flashes quest complete, and he turns to leave like a boss. But the door flies open. A messenger screams about an absolute emergency. The guildmaster yells at him for running in like a horse with his tail on fire. The messenger points outside. The guild's red signal flare just lit up the sky nearby. The holy guards are moving like sloths, which our guy recognizes as typical early game scripted gating. The old man loses his mind, cursing the lazy guards and ordering his boys to mobilize. He spins around and points directly at our guy, who is busy rehearsing his cool exit line. He turns around slowly, telling the old man to watch his mouth. The old man yells back about loyalty and promises to pay him a mountain of gold. That is all it takes. The contract is formed, and our guy walks out the door. The time attack quest window pops up, and his gamer instincts kick in. The messenger tells him to wait for the squad, but our guy tells him he doesn't need anchors. This is a classic Save the Survivors event. If he sits around waiting, half his bonus experience is going to die. The old man yells that our guy cleared the sewers solo and will be fine. They mention horses, and our guy is hyped. He is basically an expert because he played a riding simulator once. He poses like an absolute dork internally, screaming for his precious experience points to stay alive. Cut to the battlefield. The sky is stained deep red as crows gather. The heavy thud of hooves shakes the dirt. He pulls his sword, whispering his prepared combat dialogue. A clean red flash cuts through the air. His horse crashes through the front lines, trampling goblin trash underfoot. He screams a dramatic battle cry as blood sprays across his face. The struggling mercenaries look up, completely baffled that their reinforcements is just one guy. A goblin tries to flank a wounded fighter, but gets instantly sliced in too. Our guy leaps off the horse with flawless anime physics. He charges the main horde surrounding the merchant wagons. He stands over the fallen mercenary, delivering his next rehearsed line. The merchant is staring up at him like he just saw a god, completely paralyzed. Our guy draws his sword, looking like an absolute menace against the twilight. His crimson eye glows with cold intensity. He yells his cringe roleplay line, but honestly, it hits incredibly hard in this lighting. A triple-layered slash tears through the entire front row of goblins. They are split completely in half before they can even scream. The survivors are left on the ground, completely traumatized by the sheer violence. Covered in black blood, our guy flashes a satisfied, terrifying grin. The mercenary trembles, wondering who this absolute psycho is. To them, he doesn't look like a savior. He looks like a monster that just cleared out the competition. Miles away, a woman clad in pristine white armor suddenly stops in her tracks. She tells her companion they need to march on Tatara immediately. Her green eyes narrow. She can feel a massive, suffocating demonic energy radiating from the forest. Our guy is busy wiping the blood off his face while checking the quest window. 30 out of 52 survivors left. He internally complains about the hyperrealism making him taste monster blood. The mercenary looks up, trembling in pure fear. But things get worse. The guy next to him is foaming at the mouth. Demonic corruption has set in. The system warns that high corruption leads to full mutation. The fighters panic, having only useless sedatives. Our guy looks at them, suddenly remembering this classic game mechanic. In the original game, getting hit by a demon had a percentage chance to infect your gauge. Of course, his edgy demonic knight class is completely immune, because he's already hosting a literal demon in his arm. Fortunately, he is carrying a massive stash of items. Since rewards scale with survivors, it's time to dump his inventory. He casually tosses a glowing green bottle to the panicked healer. The healer looks at the demonic energy antidote like he just found the Holy Grail. Our guy starts throwing items like he's running a clearance sale. Bandages, potions, sedatives, everything. The healer screams for everyone to gather the wounded, while our guy secretly celebrates finding a use for his starter trash. The survivor count locks in at 27. He stands there waiting, wondering if there is a hidden boss. Suddenly, his ears twitch as he hears heavy movement in the brush. But it's just the actual guild reinforcements arriving, way too late to do anything useful. The quest complete screen flashes. Free experience points are the best experience points. He watches the prompt pop up, satisfied with his easy W. But then the system drops an L. Quest Phase 2, recover 25 bodies and retrieve missing items. The NPCs look at him, nodding as if they expect him to lead the chore duty. Our guy crosses his arms. Digging through dirt is definitely going to ruin his dark, brooding aesthetic. So he decides to do what any true edgelord would do, lean against a tree and look cool. He notices the quest progress bar fills up when the NPCs do the work anyway. Time to spectate. The NPCs carry the stretchers, bitterly complaining about the guy who did all the fighting acting high and mighty. Our guy listens to their salty chatter, secretly enjoying his masterclass and slacking off. He has a massive grin under his mask, realizing that getting paid while NPCs grind is the ultimate gamer dream. The NPCs wonder why demons are raiding these territories. Our guy files this away as obvious lore foreshadowing. But then they mention something weird. They are missing a lot of bodies. They decide to pull back to the city to complain to the Lord about high taxes and lazy protection. Missing bodies? That is a classic necromancer or cultist trope. The main questline is definitely chaining together. The cleanup finishes, and the system registers 25 out of 25 bodies recovered. Our guy steps out of his tree, declaring it's time to move. Back at the guild hall, the grumpy old guildmaster praises the survivors for fighting well. Our guy steps forward, demanding his fair share of the gold. The old man scoffs, telling him he isn't broke enough to scam a rookie. But then he stops him. He slams his cane down, looking incredibly serious. He has another high-tier commission that he wants to give directly to our guy. The merchant escort looks nervous, wondering what kind of job is left. It is a high-level demon subjugation, obviously. Isran rushes in, panicking because that zone was already assigned to another party. But the old man fired them for being silent. The GM rants that he isn't waiting around for amateurs, and he's sending the guy who actually gets results. Our guy internally swoons over how well-written this grumpy veteran NPC is. He accepts the quest. Isran sighs and begins drafting the papers, but mentions the previous party's contract. The old man yells that they got fired for being trash, completely ignoring the cancellation fees. The merchant guy looks at our guy, asking if he's actually ready for this. He offers to lead him to a local inn to discuss the details over a meal. Title card: The next day. The sun is shining bright. Our guy is riding in a fancy carriage, heading toward the northwest forest. He is sitting in his classic cool guy pose, arms crossed, head tilted, but internally, he is suffering. The game actually simulates leg cramps from sitting too long. 10 hours in a wooden box with zero fast travel. He is ready to uninstall this trash game. He questions why he's putting himself through physical torture for an edgelord roleplay, but the carriage boy's look of awe helps. He tells himself to endure the pain. The payout is going to be massive. The merchant meets him to draft the official contract, begging him to hunt the beast down quickly. Our guy glares at him, saying only 2 words: the bounty. The merchant says the base reward is 700,000 gil. Our guy is stunned but keeps his cool face, asking, "And so?" The merchant panic sweats and instantly offers another 200,000 gil on top. Our guy's brain explodes. He didn't even put a single skill point into negotiation, and it just procced automatically? He wonders if this is a scripted event, or if the game's AI is just insanely easy to exploit with edgy silences. The merchant misinterprets his silence as disapproval and yells, "Fine, 300,000 gil extra!" 1,000,000 gil total. Our guy is internally screaming with joy, realizing he is a financial genius. He spins around dramatically, declaring he is departing immediately. The merchant tells him to rest, but our guy delivers his prepared line about not wasting a single breath. The carriage rolls out of the town gate. He's already planning on buying up the real estate market once he hits max level. The little curly-haired carriage boy looks back, nervously asking if he's an adventurer. Our guy's edgelord ego refuses to let him be called a generic adventurer. He slowly says, "I am not." The boy's face drops, looking slightly disappointed. Our guy panics, realizing he was way too edgy, and quickly adds that he still performs similar heroic deeds. The boy's eyes instantly turn to hearts, and he asks if our guy has ever seen the ocean. Our guy's heart melts. He delivers an incredibly poetic description about the water matching the boy's blue eyes. The boy is completely enchanted as they roll through the peaceful countryside. The ride is comfortable, the sun is setting, and everything is peaceful until the forest air grows cold. Suddenly, a massive metallic mace crashes down from above, and our guy barely blocks it in time. It's the fanatical red-haired paladin from earlier, screaming that she will purge his demonic energy from this world. So, our guy is casually strolling through the forest, looking like an absolute menace as usual, when a brand new combat skill finally decides to unlock. He gets Search, which is basically a radar for local hostility, and the system immediately warns him that something is about to jump him. Out of nowhere, a heavy white armored boot steps into view, and our red-haired paladin from earlier drops down like a meteor. She is screaming about purging heretics, and before our guy can even process the sudden change in background music, she swings a massive glowing mace directly at his face. Steel meets steel, and the impact rattles his teeth as he barely blocks the strike. He manages to parry and push her back, catching his breath. The paladin glares at him, fully committed to her purge the wicked dialogue. Our guy just stands there, completely blank. He tries to play along with the roleplay, asking why a holy priest is acting like a common thug. But she just yells back, calling him a disgusting demon. Our guy's brain completely stalls. He checks his UI, realizing no quest has actually popped up yet. Then he looks down at his literal, pitch-black, demon-infested right arm. Right. The edgelord outfit. He is wearing the exact starter gear designed to look like a walking disaster. But instead of panicking, he realizes this is the ultimate opportunity to commit to his character. He poses dramatically with his sword, telling her not to mock his burden. She does not appreciate his theater project. She leaps back into the air, her weapon glowing with holy wrath. He slides left, dodging the heavy downward smash. He realizes that since he was never formally knighted, he doesn't have to fight fair. He triggers his first dark magic skill, Screaming Breaker like an anime protagonist. A massive wave of dark energy slams directly into her tower shield, sending dirt flying. He walks through the dust, mocking her for hiding behind her gear. But she just starts channeling another spell, making him sweat. She summons a blinding flash of holy light. It is so bright his monitor is basically a white screen. His gamer brain immediately calculates the stats, realizing she just popped an attack and defense buff. She steps forward, her weapon practically huming with extra damage multipliers. He notes that her class is way too slow to catch him with a raw hit, so he relies on his higher attack speed, launching a flurry of rapid strikes, but every single hit bounces uselessly off her massive shield. He grunts, realizing his basic physical damage is completely blocked. He backsteps, trying to find a gap in her guard. She goads him to face her head-on, completely confident in her defense stat. Our guy just smiles. He sprints forward, closing the gap in a second. Instead of swinging, he steps directly on her shield, using it as a springboard. He flips right over her head, exploiting her slow turning speed. He aims for her exposed back, declaring her defense is completely useless now. He unleashes a massive, shadow-infused vertical slash. The impact shakes her entire posture as she barely blocks behind her. He lands smoothly, proving his class speed is superior. He turns for the finishing blow, but a voice interrupts. A massive wall of fire suddenly erupts between them, forcing him back. Our guy blinks, recognizing a high-tier fire spell. Out of the smoke steps a white lion beastkin holding a massive staff. The paladin calls him Archmage, and our guy's soul leaves his body. Inquisitor? Archmage? Those are third-tier endgame class advancements. He is currently looking at an endgame tank and a top-tier ranged DPS, while he is still wearing tutorial rags. He stares at the two endgame players standing across from him. The game developers have officially decided that his tutorial experience needed more to spare. This is not throwing an egg at a wall, this is trying to fight a mountain with a toothpick. He is completely outmatched on every single level. He starts panicking, wondering how much experience points he is going to lose on death. Is this a scripted death event? Maybe if he dies, the game will finally unlock the actual quality of life features. Yes, that must be it. The developers wanted him to experience the death system firsthand. He decides that if he is going to get wiped, he might as well go out like a legend. He puts on his best villain voice, mocking the Archmage for carrying a low-level player. The paladin screams, completely losing her temper at his disrespect. But before they can turn him into a paste, his search radar blares red. Another massive threat has entered the area. A colossal, writhing snake demon coils out of the trees, locking onto them. The Archmage calls it Medusa, which annoys our guy because he wanted to say it first. The paladin immediately accuses him of summoning his demon ally. Our guy just laughs. He tells her that her holy light has obviously rotted her brain. The system identifies the boss, and our guy realizes this is the scripted event to save him. He praised the developers in his head. They aren't psychopaths after all. He turns to the giant serpent, grinning like a complete lunatic. The Archmage senses something is off and pulls the paladin back. They watch as our guy charges the boss alone. He remembers the mechanic from the original game. Medusa's core is a single red snake. Normally, you have to hit it repeatedly until the illusion scatters, But he doesn't have the patience for that. He launches a massive horizontal strike, carving deep into the slithering mass. He aims directly for the anatomical center where a heart would be, the snake's part, revealing the glowing red core right where he predicted. He tosses his sword aside, knowing a blade might miss the tiny target. He plunges his silver-armored gauntlet directly into the bloody center. He grips the thrashing red snake, pulling it out of the mass. He crushes it in his fist, and the entire demon dissolves into dust. He turns back to the church members, dripping in demon blood. He casually crushes a stray serpent under his boot. He looks at them with his crimson eye looking like a total nightmare. His bloody footsteps echo in the quiet forest. The two holy warriors are completely frozen, staring at him in absolute shock. He mocks them, asking if they are finally done trying to get themselves killed. He tells them they made the right choice by staying out of his way. He steps closer, asking if he needs to quiet her annoying mouth permanently. But the Archmage suddenly waves his hands, desperately apologizing for the misunderstanding. The Paladin is confused, but the Archmage explains that our guy is not a demon contractor. She argues that he clearly used dark magic. The Archmage tells her that this is a legendary phenomenon only mentioned in theoretical text. Our guy internally pulls out some popcorn, loving the free lore drops. The Archmage explains that normal hosts are consumed by the demon, but our guy has completely suppressed it. The Paladin is stunned, saying it's impossible to control that power with mere human willpower. The Lion Beastskin smiles, saying nothing is impossible. He points to our guy, who is currently standing there covered in blood like a god of war. Our guy points his sword at them, asking if they are done talking about him like he's an exhibit. He drops another extremely edgy line, fully enjoying the free roleplay event. The Archmage bows deeply, offering him anything within his power to make up for their mistake. Our guy tries to think of the most toxic, dramatic dialogue option available. He asks if they are willing to cut off their own tongues, making them flinch. He then tells them to keep their cheap apologies, because he doesn't want to lower himself to their level. He throws his cloak back, telling them to get lost. He is internally screaming with joy at how well the AI responded to his banter. He walks away feeling like the coolest player on the server before remembering he forgot to loot the boss. He turns back and grabs the red snake carcass. The Paladin suddenly calls out to him, making him nervous that they want to fight over the loot. But she looks at him with a completely different expression, asking him to listen. Our guy blinks, realizing a new questline has just been triggered. The Crimson Inquisitor's face is pure comedy gold right now. She actually lowers her massive holy mace and delivers a sincere apology for attacking him first. Our guy is internally flabbergasted because elite teenage NPCs in these games usually double down on their toxic pride to protect their egos. She is bowing so low, she is basically folding in half, which actually makes him feel a little guilty even though he knows she's just a bunch of pixels. She even offers him direct financial compensation, and his gamer brain instantly switches to companion recruitment mode. But then he remembers his strict solo player edgelord build. No sidekicks allowed, they ruin the brooding dark aesthetic. He turns his back on her with a dramatic swirl of his cloak, telling her he has no need for her fake charity. She tries to argue, but the old lion Archmage steps in, telling her to let it go. The Archmage reminds her they have a report to turn in since the forest purification is officially complete. She immediately gets the sad puppy face, completely deflated. They start walking away, muttering about how late it is, but as our guy walks down the road, he realizes they are keeping the exact same pace, step for step, right behind him. He looks back, his eyebrow twitching under the eye patch. Are these two high-level security guards seriously trying to stalk a tutorial-level player? He brings up his holographic minimap to double-check his path. Surely they don't have the same GPS tracking. Meanwhile, they're having a deep heart-to-heart about religious duties and holy blessings. He finally snaps, stopping dead in his tracks to tell them to scram for the second time. The Archmage immediately puts his hands up like a peaceful grandpa caught in a crossfire. The lion literally summons his own glowing green navigation spell to show they are just taking the same highway. Boom. A massive sticky note of overinflated ego lands right on our guy's head. He silently turns around, wishing the ground would open up and swallow his embarrassing mistake. The Inquisitor actually tries to warn him that the woods get super dangerous at night. He immediately deflects his embarrassment into more edgy dialogue, telling her he operates by a different standard. She watches him leave, genuinely worried about this crazy silent kid walking into the dark alone. She asks if they should really just let a potential rogue element wander off. If someone with his raw combat stats gets fully corrupted by a high-ranking demon, the entire server is cooked. The Archmage strokes his lion chin. This is a first for him too. He reveals he already tagged our guy with a tracking spell so they can keep tabs on him. They say a silent prayer as they watch him disappear into the deep brush. Cut to a shot of a massive, beautiful blue moon. Back at the Tatara trading post, the night is peaceful, until a dark, heavily blood-soaked shadow approaches the front entrance. Isrin is busy sweeping up when she hears the door creak open. She immediately chokes on her own breath as a terrifying cold aura fills the room. It's our guy, looking like he just stepped out of a horror movie set. He throws a heavy bag of guts onto her counter, whispering 2 words, "Verify it." She trips over her own feet, trying to process his return, scrambling behind the desk. She carefully peeks inside and pulls out a giant, scaly snake carcass. Her jaw literally hits the floor. She screams that he completed a high-difficulty demon subjugation in under 48 hours. Meanwhile, our guy is crying tears of blood internally. He starts reflecting on the absolute nightmare that was his journey home. He confidently walked away from his potential companions, completely forgetting one crucial detail. The carriage ride took 8 solid hours. He assumed a modern VR game would have a basic fast travel warp gate. Nope. He walked through sunset, dusk, pitch black night, and dawn. This is not an RPG. It is a brutal walking simulator designed by sadists. He walked for 24 hours straight. He tried to camp out, but the forest was crawling with hyper-realistic bugs, mosquitoes, and swamp noise. The exact moment the Tatara trading post zone prompt popped up, he almost wept with pure relief. Isrin examines the Medusa carcass and confirms the quest completion. She promises to process his massive payment at sunrise, while our guy's knees are literally shaking from sleep deprivation. She notices his exhaustion and offers to book him a room at a local inn, calling out for her assistant. The assistant, Korn, pops his head out of the back room, completely stunned that our guy survived. Korn eagerly agrees to guide our bloody hero to the White Wind Inn. Korn is super hyped, asking if the demon he killed was a massive, terrifying boss. Our guy shuts him down with more cold roleplay dialogue. The poor kid immediately shrinks in fear, making our guy feel like the worst adult alive. He decides he's going to tip the kid half his life savings just to cure his guilt. He finally collapses face first onto the inn bed, completely spent. His status screen flashes a terrifying fatigue 100% warning. The game actually forces his real muscles to feel like lead. He opens his interface to select a mandatory 6-hour rest window. He clicks confirm, desperately needing a real-world break. The camera pans up to the starry sky as the timer starts ticking. Moonbeams shine quietly through the window, but inside the darkened hallway, something is moving. A pair of stealthy, mud-covered boots walks down the floorboards. The lock clicks, and our guy is still completely dead to the world on his stomach. A massive spiked club is raised above his head, and it swings down with a violent thud. His crimson eye snaps open as the system's threat radar screams red. He rolls, unsheathing his sword to block the heavy spiked club in a split second. He throws a solid counterpunch, sending the burglar flying backward. The thief crashes against the wall, shocked by our guy's insane reaction speed. Our guy doesn't waste time, leaping off the bed with a wide vertical slash. He corners the intruder, who instantly drops to his knees, begging for his life over a stupid coin pouch. He holds his sword to the guy's throat, delivering a classic freeze hands on your headline. The spike club clatters loudly onto the wooden floor. The burglar whimpers, but our guy isn't buying his helpless act. Suddenly, the thief lunges forward with a hidden dagger, aiming for a cheap shot. Our guy easily dodges the slow swing, pivoting behind him. He delivers a heavy hilt strike directly to the back of the thief's neck. The robber collapses cold onto the floor. Our guy mocks his laughable attempt. He grabs the unconscious burglar by his hair, completely annoyed that his sleep schedule got ruined. He kicks his door open, dragging the guy out like a sack of dirty laundry. He walks downstairs where the receptionist lady is fast asleep at her desk. He drops the heavy body onto the floor with a massive slam, waking her up. Covered in shadow, he politely asks her to let him get some actual rest, but she just screams bloody murder, completely ignoring his polite request. She screams that there's a dead body, but before he can correct her, his threat radar blares a second time. The main entrance doors explode open, and the Inquisitor charges in like a heat-seeking missile. She spots the body and immediately assumes our guy is on a random killing spree. She swings her glowing mace, and he blocks it with a deafening metallic clash. He is internally crying. Why does this annoying NPC only show up when he is in the middle of a massive misunderstanding? She glares at him, ready to unleash another holy boss fight. They face off in the middle of the wrecked tavern hall, but honestly, our guy loves this. Every time she attacks, his roleplay switch gets flipped. Based on his custom backstory, there are 3 specific triggers that make his character snap: demon scum, in the name of God, and losing your mind. And this paladin frantically pushes every single one of those buttons like she's playing a rhythm game. She delivers the exact voice line he wanted, calling him a filthy, human-stealing demon. He grins under his hair, fully locked into his Dark Knight persona. He tells her she is rushing straight to her grave. He channels a massive burst of dark energy, cloaking his sword in crackling shadow. He lunges forward, swinging his blade with blinding speed, but suddenly, glowing magic chains wrap around his body, stopping him mid-air. It's a high-level crowd control spell from the mage tree. The lion archmage steps into the tavern, telling them to hold on. Our guy knows the CC effect will wear off in a few seconds, but for the sake of his roleplay, he has to act mad. The Inquisitor asks why the Archmage is stopping her from executing a threat. With a massive roar, our guy flexes his physical stats, shattering the magic chains into glittering dust. The shockwave blows the Paladin's hair back as her jaw drops. The impact shatters the nearby windows and rattles the tavern rafters. The receptionist hides behind the counter, shaking in pure terror. Even the high-level Archmage is sweating now, completely stunned. Our guy holds his dark sword, letting the purple flames crackle. The room goes dead silent. She whispers in disbelief, wondering how a tutorial-level player broke a master-tier binding spell. Our guy keeps his cold, silent face. But internally, his chibi self is laughing. Back in the original game, binding was a broken, overpowered skill that players constantly complained about on the forums. The paladin demands an explanation, pointing her mace at the corpse on the floor. The Archmage sighs, asking if her blind hatred of demons has completely ruined her situational awareness. He tells her to actually look at the target before launching a holy crusade. Right on cue, the dead body groans and sits up, trembling at our guy's dark aura. Her face turns into a hilarious shocked emoji as she realizes the guy is still breathing. She looks at our guy, completely embarrassed. Our guy's internal chibi is celebrating. The misunderstanding has finally cleared itself up. The Archmage politely asks our guy if he can explain what actually happened here. Our guy looks behind them and notices a crowd of sleepy tavern guests peeking down the stairs. He walks over and steps on the thief's leg, telling him to stop hiding his face and start confessing. He holds his blade close, prompting the robber to spill his guts. The thief blubbers that he saw our guy handing a massive tip to the errand boy earlier and assumed he was a whale. With the mystery solved, our guy lets out a heavy, tired sigh. He tells the innkeeper to upgrade her security, declaring that he is officially leaving this loud establishment. He walks out into the early morning light, enjoying the fact that VR inventory means no packing bags. As he walks down the street, a strange feeling hits him. Those 2 church NPCs, why do they look so incredibly familiar? Suddenly, the paladin calls out to him from behind. He turns around slowly, and she is staring at him with wide, trembling eyes. She looks at his face in the light, and her expression shifts from embarrassment to absolute terror. Our red-haired paladin is standing at the door, looking like a kid who just broke her mom's favorite vase. Our guy looks closely at her face, trying to place where he has seen this model before. Bright crimson hair, tied back in the ultimate anime death flag braid, and intense green eyes. It hits him. She is the literal cover girl for the priest class from the original promo art. The old lion archmage rushes in behind her, telling her to calm down and stop acting so reckless. Our guy looks at him and realizes he is also an official promotional character. Ashagi, the white lion beastkin race that represents the master tier mage class. In the original single-player version, companion characters never showed up because everyone had their own solo story mode. He wonders if the developers made teaming up with these specific NPCs mandatory for the campaign. But his strict single-player, solo edgelord build means he is definitely not looking to join a guild lobby. He decides to test the AI's limits by delivering his most hostile, dismissive dialogue option. The paladin immediately stammers, her eyes welling up with tears as she tries to apologize. She grits her teeth, completely overwhelmed by her own guilt. She drops her heavy silver mace and falls directly to her knees on the hard stone floor. She screams that her toxic behavior cannot be redeemed by words, so he is free to take her head as compensation. Our guy just stands there, completely shell-shocked. The room goes dead silent. She remains bowed, waiting for his blade to fall. Our guy's internal chibi is screaming in pure panic. He just likes to play solo. He is not trying to run a literal execution squad in a starting town. He glares at the sweating lion, wondering what kind of extreme cult-like training she received at the temple. Even the old archmage looks like he is about to have a heart attack, realizing they might have pushed the rogue too far. But our guy knows that if he breaks character now, his entire roleplay rating is ruined. The lion steps forward, his ears drooping in pure desperation. He takes a deep breath, preparing to make his own sacrifice. From the lion's perspective, our guy looks like a towering god of death surrounded by a purple dark aura. The archmage begs him to show mercy, stepping between him and the kneeling girl. He explains that she is fresh out of the academy and has no real-world experience, so he should take his head instead. The paladin yells back, arguing that it was her mistake and she should be the one to pay. They start having a full-blown argument over who gets executed, completely ignoring our guy. He realizes his silence failed to de-escalate, so he has to take matters into his own hands. Honestly, this extreme drama is hilarious, so he decides to roll with it. He draws his glowing blue blade, letting the steel hum in the quiet room. He steps forward, his heavy boots clicking on the floor. He swings his sword down, the blade cutting a sharp line through the air. The steel slices clean. The old lion squeezes his eyes shut, bracing for the worst. The paladin grips her mace, waiting for the impact. But nothing happens. She slowly opens one eye. She looks up at our guy, who has already sheathed his sword. Her braided ponytail falls cleanly onto the stone floor. She touches her hair, her eyes wide in absolute confusion. She looks like her entire worldview just shattered. She asks why he would do something like that instead of taking her life. His internal gamer is celebrating. He just saved her from her own tragic death flag braid without breaking character once. He remembered his sister from his character's custom prologue had the exact same hair and mace. The lion sighs in relief, thanking the heavens for his unexpected mercy. Our guy looks down at her, telling her to watch her mouth and her hairstyle. He turns away, warning her that next time his blade won't stop at her hair. She looks up, short-haired now, completely awestruck by his dark wisdom. His internal chibi is giggling like a schoolgirl, proud of his absolute god-tier role-playing performance. He walks down the street, skipping happily in his mind while looking forward to whatever crazy event they bring next. Behind him, the paladin looks at the archmage. She asks if his body was really consumed by a demon. The archmage confirms it, noting the unimaginable suffering he must have endured. She grips her fist, realizing how much hatred he had to overcome to gain such overwhelming power. She asks why someone with that much rage would simply walk away without taking revenge. The lion tells her that was true, enlightened mercy. It was his incredible strength of mind that allowed him to completely master the demon dwelling within him. She repeats his words, her heart deeply moved. She drops to her knees again, realizing she still has a long way to go. Suddenly, she looks up, her face lighting up with a dangerous realization. She stands up, screaming that they absolutely, without question, need him in their party. Her eyes are sparkling with intense, terrifying determination. The old archmage just stands there, completely done with her antics. He lets out a heavy, defeated sigh. He looks up at the moon, praying for strength. The system screen flashes. Approximately 2 days until full dive ends. Our guy is staying at a much nicer, quieter inn down the street. The tavern downstairs is filled with patrons enjoying their breakfast. Our guy slams his fork into a massive, juicy steak. He lifts the bite, ready to enjoy his morning, until he senses a shadow over his table. He looks up, and there they are. Again. His internal chibi is overjoyed, thinking they are here to hand him another high payout quest. But his Dark Knight persona immediately takes over, asking if their ears are completely clogged. He wants to flip the table, but his polite Korean soul won't let him disrespect food. The lion archmage begs him to listen, swearing this won't be a waste of his time. Our guy gets up from the bench, turning his back on them. He tells them that their faces being here is already a massive waste of his time. The paladin's face turns bright red as she prepares her speech. She drops into a deep bow, screaming that she has come to learn from his grand mercy. She is completely flustered, her head spinning from her own embarrassment. Our guy's head tilts in complete disbelief. He wonders if he played his character too well. She confesses that she was taught to show mercy her entire life, yet she failed her first test. She clenches her hands, noting that he forgave her toxic attacks over and over despite her insults. Angelic wings literally sprout behind her as she declares that he showed her the true path she must walk. Our guy's internal brain is hit by a massive oh boy. This clumsy, socially awkward, honest-to-a-fault character design has just delivered a critical hit to his otaku heart. He admits defeat. Even back in his middle school days, the priest was always his favorite class archetype. His mind wants to head pat her and scream how adorable she is, but he bites his lip, suppressing his grin to keep his roleplay intact. She looks up, worried that she has accidentally offended him again. His internal screen is literally flashing so cute in bright neon pink. Out loud, he sighs, telling her that if her goal was to ruin his morning appetite, she did a decent job. He draws his sword halfway, asking if they are actively trying to commit suicide. He tells them he has nothing to share with them but his blade, but the Archmage interrupts, screaming the name Satan. Our guy's eye goes incredibly wide. He stops, asking them what that name means. The two holy warriors gulp, completely intimidated by his sudden focus. They look at each other, realizing his reaction is serious. They assume his chilling gaze is pure, ancient hatred for the Demon King. They believe that if they try to lie to him now, he will tear them apart on the spot. But the paladin does not hesitate, clenching her fist in determination. Her green eyes are completely locked onto him. She believes her life exists solely for the greater good, and she must speak the truth. Meanwhile, our guy is internally hyperventilating because the lore for the final campaign boss is finally dropping. His chibi is bouncing off the walls. He calls this absolute god-tier storyline development. The narrator explains that her class, the Inquisitor, represents the official ecclesiastical judges. In the game's mechanics, it is the highest class advancement for the priest tree, acting as executors who carry out the temple's divine will. But she left the temple because of a direct divine revelation. The Lord delivered a message declaring that she is destined to defeat the Demon King Satan. However, she lacks the strength to do it alone and must gather allies. That's why she teamed up with the Archmage to find those who would stand with her, and that is the exact reason she came back to find him. Our guy grits his teeth, looking at the sweating lion who tried to play it cool. He realizes the poor girl got tricked by the old lion into tagging along. He thinks she is as cute as a little dumpling, but his gamer brain notices a massive inconsistency. Originally, that main campaign revelation is supposed to be given to the player. Did the VR remake scenario completely shift to revolve around her? The Archmage holds his hands up, begging him to consider their offer. He officially asks him to join their quest to subjugate Satan. A golden system prompt flashes, plus a step towards subjugating the Demon King plus the main quest. The Archmage flatters him, noting that his reputation as a ruthless demon hunter precedes him. He argues that if they defeat Satan, all the lesser demons will retreat from the land. Our guy looks at the screen, his mind racing. She stands behind the lion, quietly waiting for his answer. His sword rests on the floor, the purple dark energy slowly fading. He looks at the main campaign quest prompt, realizing his solo playstyle is about to get completely derailed. So, we left off with our guy looking like an absolute menace, delivering an edgelord line so sharp it could cut glass. And just like that, the system pops off, we are officially accompanied by a literal Crimson Inquisitor and an Archmage. The quest updates and our guy is standing there looking incredibly cool while his dining table is left completely untouched. Priorities, people. We transition to the carriage ride leaving Tatara, and honestly, the graphics in this remake are absolutely flexing. Isrin and Korn are watching them leave like they just saw a legendary squad set off to save the world. The narration notes that the innkeeper was begging for another chance, and random NPCs offered rewards, but our guy completely ignored them to stay in character and focus on the main quest. That is dedication to the bit. But as he is sitting there looking moody, he glances over and sees Estella staring at him with giant, sparkling anime eyes. Seriously, she is looking at him like a puppy looks at a treat. He is internally sweating, wondering why she has been staring like that ever since they agreed to travel. He is trying to calculate the math here. All he did was insult her, trash talk her, and literally slice her hair off. If there is an affinity stat in this game, he is pretty sure his is currently sitting in the Mariana Trench. And on cue, the system helper window pops up explaining that NPC behavior changes based on affinity, but the exact value is hidden. Helpful. He remembers his own roleplay from earlier, posing with his sword and telling them, "Don't expect me to treat you like allies." So he is just sitting there with his arms crossed, wondering if early game NPCs are just high affinity by default. But then we see what he is actually thinking. Estella is sitting across from him looking like a literal chibi kimchi dumpling, and yes, his internal monologue literally calls her my little kimchi dumpling. He thinks she looks even more like a dumpling with that short haircut, staring at him with those wide eyes. She is strong, yet hopelessly passionate. Our edgelord protagonist is currently experiencing a full-on proud parent moment. He is basically her dad now. Suddenly, the white lion Gale breaks the silence, calling him my friend. He asks why Kiryu hasn't asked them anything, like whether they actually received a revelation or where they are going. Kiryu's internal gamer brain immediately responds, "Because you're just in-game characters and I don't get the next quest marker until we get there." But since he is a concept fanatic, he opens his mouth and says, "If the revelation is a lie, I will simply tear you bastards apart. Otherwise, I don't care what you do." Truly, a masterclass in aggressive hospitality. Gale looks down, letting out a soft sigh, but he is actually smiling. He interprets this edgelord threat as a sign of supreme, absolute trust. The mental gymnastics of these NPCs are top tier. The carriage keeps rolling through the beautiful forest, and Estella starts explaining that they are heading to a temple that requested their aid in purging demons. Kiryu immediately cuts her off. "I don't care about your petty reasons. What kind of demon is it? What is their estimated number?" Estella's sweat drops and admits they only heard a rumor and have to get the details from the temple. Kiryu's instant response, "Utterly incompetent." And right on time, a side quest pops up, evil lurking in the village. Go to the temple, talk to the bishop. He realizes it is not the main quest, but hey, progress is progress. But then he checks his real-life timer. He only has about 1.5 days of real-world full dive time left, and at this slow-ass carriage pace, he is wasting a massive amount of time. He decides he might as well get some sleep. He closes his eyes, expecting them to wake him up when they arrive. Estella is just sitting there, smiling at him like a proud disciple. Now, we get a flashback to the previous night. Estella is kneeling under a beautiful stained glass window. Gale knocks on the door asking to come in. He steps inside looking incredibly serious. He tells her that offering her life to Kiryu was a massive deal, and he wants to make sure she understands the weight of it. He reminds her of the mission riding on her shoulders. Gale says, "If he had not shown you mercy..." Estella looks up, admitting she spoke impulsively, but she points out that she almost killed an innocent man in her blind zeal. She quotes the 9th commandment of their faith. "Justice is but justified violence, thus it must be wielded with gravity and caution. Do not be certain of your own justice." Gale looks down in silent agreement. She clenches her hands, realizing that if Kiryu had died by her hand, she would have continued taking innocent lives in her ignorance. She feels completely unworthy of being the hero. We see her cut hair lying on the floor, lit by a divine glow. She believes that by showing her mercy, he granted her a chance at true enlightenment. He literally saved her soul by cutting her hair. In her mind, Kiryu's edgy face is framed in a holy light. She literally asks if he is an apostle of God. Yes, she has completely mythologized our edgelord gamer. She folds her hands and prays, "May God grant you peaceful sleep." We cut back to the carriage traveling through a gorgeous, bright green valley, and they finally arrive at the village under the cover of night. Kiryu's eyes snap open, looking incredibly intense. But internally? It took 3 whole days in game. What a garbage game. He is crying tears of blood. He just spent real-world money on his pod subscription to watch a carriage riding simulator. He decides he is going to clear this quest as fast as humanly possible with the time he has left. Speedrun mode activated. Estella and Gale are ready to head to the temple without delay, but before they can even finish their sentence, Kiryu is already running ahead like a speedrunner who skipped the dialogue. Estella is chasing after him, panicking. Gale is left behind, sighing about how hard it is for an old lion to keep up. But as Gale walks, he stops. He feels a deep, ominous unease as a flock of black crows suddenly takes flight into the night sky. The crows fly over a massive, incredibly ornate Gothic cathedral. Our guy's boots click on the floor as he enters, looking calm and composed, only to get instantly surrounded by temple guards pointing spears right at his chest, screaming, "It's a demon!" The guard captain looks at his gauntlet and gasps, wondering if that mark on his hand is the proof of the hero. Estella immediately steps in, looking furious. "I swear on my name as the hero, he is a victim of the demon, not its minion." The guards are muttering in confusion, noting how young she is and how she just received her revelation. Before things can escalate, Gale quietly raises his giant golden staff and slams it into the ground, unleashing a massive glowing blue magic circle. "Silence, everyone. The lion has spoken. Did the hero not tell you to lower your weapons?" The guards sweat bullets and immediately exchange nervous glances. They slowly lower their spears, agreeing to obey because the god's proxy has spoken. They offer to guide them inside, while Estella stands there with her hand on her chest, still looking tense. Gale whispers to our guy, asking him to bear with them because they meant no harm. Kirio's cold response, "If they did, I would have cut them down already." But internally, "I love misunderstanding events. It is so satisfying when an NPC steps in to resolve it." He is literally cheering. He marches inside like he owns the place. He thinks it is absolutely hilarious how obvious it is that they are walking on eggshells around him, but as he walks through the grand doors, his fatigue starts to kick in. This game is a little too realistic. He decides he is going to grab the information and bounce immediately. The temple interior is beautiful, with massive windows casting dramatic shadows. They sit down at a long table to meet with the bishop, a handsome, very polite-looking priest. The bishop smiles warmly, telling them it is late and they should rest in the rooms they prepared. He even offers to bring meals to their rooms. Kireo's gamer instincts immediately kick in. He is basically telling us to stay locked in and sleep instead of wandering around. He looks at the bishop with an incredibly flat, unamused eye. He has dealt with passive-aggressive NPCs like this his entire gaming life. He is not buying it. The roleplay fever is hitting him hard, but he is too tired for this. He stands up, pulling his chair back. "I refuse. I would rather sleep on the dirt than in a nest of hypocrites." The bishop is absolutely stunned, covering his mouth in shock. And right on cue, the quest updates, tracking the evil lurking in the village. He decides he is going to investigate right now. He walks away, leaving Estella and Gale looking completely baffled. Estella runs after him, yelling for him to wait. She reaches out and grabs his silver-armored sleeve. In a split second, a massive flash of red physical force erupts as he jerks his arm back. "Do not touch me." The edgelord level is off the charts. Estella looks completely devastated, her eyes wide with shock. "Oh, I am sorry." Gale steps up, asking him where he is going. Kirio looks back coolly. "You asked the obvious. I am going to kill the demon. Internally? If I tag along with you guys, this side quest will take a literal century. I am speedrunning this!" Estella looks up from the floor, her eyes filled with determination. "I will go with you." Gale lets out a soft, proud smile. He looks at her and says, "You put this old man to shame." He tells the Inquisitor that they should go together, and Estella's face immediately lights up with joy. The bishop is left standing in the hallway, looking completely panicked as they walk away. Gale delivers a polite but savage parting line. "We appreciate your consideration, Bishop, but our friend is not the type to rest when a demon is right in front of him." The bishop looks absolutely terrified. His plan to keep them locked up just failed instantly. Estella and Gale sprint out of the cathedral after our guy, screaming, "We are coming with you!" On the window ledge, a giant creepy crow watches them leave with a piercing gaze. The flock of crows takes off, circling the dark cathedral towers. The moon is full and bright over the dark forest, so the party is sticking together no matter what. Kirio is just walking, looking mildly annoyed. Gale suggests finding a witness to gather info, but Kirio shuts him down. No need. Internally, Kirio is thinking, the old sage already knows the answer and is just testing me to see if I'm a real gamer. Estella looks at him with wide, curious eyes, asking for his expert opinion. The chibi kimchi dumpling is back, looking incredibly serious next to him. He is fighting for his life to hold back a proud dad smile. He manages to say, "I can hardly believe you are the hero." She immediately snaps back, telling him to refrain from such blasphemy because she won't let anyone question God's will. Then she asks, "What kind of demon is lurking here?" Kirio is internally squealing. He loves how earnest and stubborn she is. She doesn't mind being insulted, but will defend her faith to the death. Adorable. Out loud, he drops the lore, "It is a draugr." Estella is completely shocked, realizing that explains everything. She notes that they must look for a place with a terrible stench, likely a graveyard since draugr are born there. Gale praises her for being well-informed, and she modestly says she can't compare to him or the Demon Knight. Kiryu is literally clenching his fist, trying to think dark, serious thoughts to suppress his proud dad grin. He is physically struggling. But then he remembers the original game's lore. The draugr incident led to the corruption of the temple and the introduction of a demon worshipper. He wonders how this highly realistic remake is going to handle it. They keep walking down the cobblestone streets. Suddenly, Estella stops, her nose twitching. "I smell something strange!" They follow the scent into a dark, narrow brick alleyway in the inner district. Kiryu reaches into his inventory and pulls out a glowing magic lantern. He holds it up, casting a bright light into the dark alley. The light reveals a dirty, emaciated citizen sitting against the stone wall. Estella gasps, her face turning pale with horror. "This is—" The lantern light hits the man's face, revealing sunken, hollow eyes, shriveled gray skin, and decayed teeth. He is mutated. Our guy holds up the glowing magic lantern, casting a cold light on the pale, hollow face of the mutated citizen. Estella gasps, her hand flying to her mouth. This is the first time she is seeing the real, ugly cost of this plague up close. Gale immediately steps back, his white lion face grim as he offers to call the local guards to secure the area. Kiryu is standing there looking stoic, but internally, he is complaining about the developer's scent engine. He thought the rotten smell was just atmospheric flavor text, but this is downright toxic. He drops to one knee, looking down at the poor soul who didn't survive the infection. He sets the heavy metal lantern on the stone floor with a quiet metallic click. He looks at the victim's face and says, "Leave the revenge to me." He gently slides his hand down, closing the man's vacant eyes so he can finally rest in peace. Estella watches him, deeply moved. She folds her hands, closes her eyes, and begins to offer a quiet, beautiful prayer for the departed. Kiryu's gamer brain is currently giving the developers a 5-star review. He doesn't care about the religion, but the lighting and direction in this cutscene are absolutely top tier. Gale jogs back into the narrow alley, catching his breath as he warns them that the guard squad is on their way. He sniffs the air, realizing the stench is incredibly fresh. The monster is nearby, and they need to move. He begins channeling. A massive glowing blue magic circle erupts across the entire alleyway, sending a shockwave of light through the dark. "It's a tracking spell," Gale says, his gold eyes glowing with raw mana. The magic trail takes off, and Gale yells at Estella to run before the spell fades. They sprint into the night. Estella pushes forward, focusing her holy power to purify the lingering corruption as they run. Kiryu is already running ahead, tracking the blue trail with his sharp crimson eye. He is glad he won't get lost. He is internally smiling. Sure, he wanted to solo this game, but having 2 high-level party members do the tracking and utility work is incredibly convenient. He spots the blue magical residue clinging to the stone walls. His heavy leather boots slide hard against the cobblestones as he rounds a corner, and he skids to a sudden halt. Estella runs up behind him, her eyes wide with confusion. It is a literal dead end. A massive brick wall blocks their path, but the blue magic trail is floating directly through the solid stone. Gale catches up, sweat dropping as he explains that the draugr must have phased straight through the wall. He suggests they find a high vantage point to navigate around, but Kiryu is already staring at the crates piled against the wall. Our guy is looking at this like a classic gamer. It's a video game, he thinks, so let's see if the physics engine actually lets me climb this. Gale panics, screaming, "Wait, what are you doing?" Kiryu launches himself off the wooden crates with an explosive leap, flying high into the air and clearing the entire alley wall in a single bound. He pulls his dark coat tight, soaring over the medieval rooftops under the full moon. He lands cleanly on the edge of a clay-tiled roof, his heavy silver-clawed gauntlet gripping the stone ledge with absolute metallic precision. He flips over the roof peak, dropping into a perfect low-profile superhero landing as the wind whips his hair. Estella is down in the street, staring up at him with literal sparkles in her eyes as she pants. Gale is wheezing, complaining about how reckless our guy is, but Estella is completely starstruck. Kiryu stands tall on the rooftop, looking down at his party like a dark savior, and internally, the chibi is screaming with pure, unadulterated joy. "This is awesome!" He is shaking with excitement. He didn't even activate an active skill, yet the game's physical feedback makes the wind and impact feel completely real. He blushes smugly, wondering if he is actually a natural-born parkour god. The system text dryly notes he is getting ahead of himself. He shakes it off, walking along the roof tiles to find the beast before Gale's spell runs out. He looks down across the sprawling, blue-tinted rooftops of the village and spots the magic trail. I see. He strikes a dramatic pose under the moon. Playing cheap tricks like the bug you are, his crimson eye narrows. However, this is where it ends. He vaults off the edge. He leaps across the roofs, tiles cracking under his feet as he accelerates. He dives down toward a dark plaza, his black duster billowing behind him like wings. He lands with an incredibly edgy roll, letting out a dark, dramatic villain laugh. Internally, the chibi is celebrating. He is having the absolute time of his life role-playing this. All hail this god-tier role-playing game! He is literally floating on cloud 9. He raises his massive sword and slams it downward, shouting, "Glory to the heavens!" The earth splits as the blade hits the cobblestone, sending a shockwave of dust into the air. "Revenge for the fallen," he says, glaring through the smoke. And right on cue, the official Draugr info card pops up, describing it as a phantom that swims through solid rock to hunt. A pair of glowing red eyes rises behind him. This pathetic game of tag ends here, he spins around. Huh? The street is completely empty. He looks around, wondering if the NPCs simply failed to load. He sniffs, immediately regretting it. The stench is so bad it's messing with his attack timing. He wishes his little kimchi dumpling Estella was here to purify the air. Suddenly, slow footsteps echo behind him. A voice speaks from the dark. "It is indeed you, Gretchen." Kireo turns, looking incredibly confused. A hooded figure clad in a dark cloak steps into the moonlight. "I was wondering how to shake off those heretics. I am overjoyed you came to me yourself." The villain spreads his hands, showing off a red flower emblem. "Oh, Gretchen, the king seeks you." The system identifies him as a demon contractor. Kireo's brain completely stalls. What the? He is mentally panicking. Who is this king? Why is he calling him Gretchen? Does this hooded NPC have a death wish, or did he just walk into a major plot point? The contractor smiles maniacally. "If the heretics captured you, I shall assist. Let us enjoy the festival of slaughter!" Kireo narrows his eyes. "Gretchen? I've never heard that name in 15 years of playing this game." He slowly grips the hilt of his sword, his silver gauntlet shining in the dark. "Don't tell me." He stands ready under the full moon, looking like a dark god of war. A demon worshipper route? He is sweating. His gamer brain goes into overdrive, visualizing the choices. Red chains shatter across his vision. He imagines the system text, "A power beyond human limits awakens. You have gained unearthly knowledge." He pictures himself roaring as dark energy surges through his body. He visualizes a fully mutated version of his character, massive black demonic wings, curling horns, and glowing red eyes. Free from the shackles of humanity, you awaken to a new power. You now walk the path of a true demon knight. It looks incredibly cool. The chibi face is drooling. He wonders if playing the evil route actually feels like that, but he quickly shakes it off. "I'm going to see multiple endings anyway, so I'll try the bad guy route on my second playthrough." He draws his sword back, the blade humming with purple dark energy. "For now, I need to stick to my current concept." He swings downward. "Breaker!" A massive purple slash rips through the cobblestones. The dust clears. "Did I get him?" The contractor is shivering behind a smoke shield, yelping in terror. Our guy is annoyed. The bastard used a Draugr as a meat shield. The contractor drops to his knees, blubbering and begging for mercy. He thinks Gretchen is testing him. Kireo's face is cold, his crimson eye glaring through his messy hair. "Forgiveness?" He slashes downward again, his voice dropping to a terrifying register. "You won't find it even in hell." The panicked contractor screams, channeling his dark mana. "The Draugr!" A giant black-armored knight with a glowing red plume and a massive shield rises from the shadows. The target lock-on flashes. The armored titan roars, drawing a colossal sword. "Such a pathetic trick!" Kireo lunges forward. Steel meets steel with a deafening crash as Kireo slams his blade against the giant shield. The impact shakes the street, but the Draugr holds its ground. Kireo pushes off the shield, flipping back. "Out of my way!" He slices across the armor, sparks flying. But internally? He is frustrated. He hates fighting amorphous, undead monsters because his sword strikes don't feel like they are hitting solid flesh. He leaps back to regain his footing. The contractor's active buffs are making the armored titan way too tanky. It'd be a lot easier to take out the summoner first, he analyzes. Besides, there's something else I want to test. Dark purple flames flare up around his blue steel blade. He swings again, testing the physics. He realized that when he activated earlier, the skill effect lingered on his blade even after the initial swing. The skill stayed active even without a straight downward motion. In that case, breaker! He unleashes a massive, spinning circular slash. The purple wave rips directly through the heavy iron shield, slicing the black armor clean in half. The core of the Draugr explodes in a violent flash of orange light, shattering the summon into a million glittering dark fragments. The system prompt flashes: track the hidden demon, eliminate Draugr, 1-1. Phase 1, complete. Kireo wipes a smudge of dust off his face. That annoying obstacle is finally gone. He steps toward the shivering contractor, pointing his blade at his throat. Now it's time for judgment, you insect. The contractor is crying, screaming that he never meant to interfere with the Mabel Merchant Guild. Kireo's eye goes wide. Oh ho, so these are the cultists who have been running around since the tutorial quest? The contractor keeps babbling, warning him that Gretchen is chasing a heretic who is actually the legendary hero. If you bring his head to the king, he will be overjoyed. Suddenly, Estella and Gale sprint into the plaza. Demon Knight! The contractor turns, his face losing all color. Damn it, a heretic! Kireo is internally laughing. He was wondering how to get information out of this guy without breaking his edgy roleplay, and the party just solved his problem. He imagines holding a welcome banner. Estella draws her massive star-shaped weapon, her eyes blazing with holy light. That man is a sinner who sold his soul to a demon! Let us fight beside you! She unleashes a blinding burst of holy energy. The contractor is blinded, screaming at Kireo in betrayal. Why are you doing this, Gretchen? Why are you betraying us? Kireo just stares at him with an absolute deadpan blank face. I don't know either. He thinks, why should I care who Gretchen is? The writers will explain the plot as I keep playing anyway. The smug chibi thumbs down. Just die. He raises his sword. You have no right to question my reasons, insect! Atone with your death! He swings his blade, a massive purple slash illuminating the entire night. We transition to the next morning. Dawn breaks over a grand gilded palace cathedral. A squad of high-ranking clerics escorts a bound prisoner inside. Estella and Gale walk with them. Kireo walks at the back, carrying his massive greatsword over his shoulder like a boss. Estella looks back at him, her green eyes filled with absolute admiration and respect. And yes, as you can see, the demon contractor managed to stay alive. Flashback to the end of the fight. The contractor is shivering, waiting for the execution blow. Suddenly, glowing blue magic chains wrap around Kireo's blade, stopping it inches from the man's neck. Gale stands there holding his staff. Kireo snaps to stay in character. Are you trying to get in my way? Gale's sweat drops, telling him to calm down because keeping the contractor alive for interrogation is far more valuable. Gale points out that someone powerful must be backing this cult. Aren't there more important things than a moment of anger? Kireo sighs dramatically, sheathing his sword and walking away. But internally, the chibi is whistling. He knew that already. He was just trying to lower the NPC's health to trigger the capture threshold. And the system prompt confirms it. Attempt capture by depleting a portion of the target's HP. He is proud of his tactical genius. He walks through the marble halls, admiring how familiar yet fresh the remake's mechanics feel. But then, a loud, high-pitched alarm begins to echo through his headset. Red warning panels start multiplying across his vision. The screens are blinking rapidly, completely blocking his sight. He is sweating. What the hell is this? A massive red system notification blinks in the center of his screen. Warning! HP slightly decreased! Our guy wants to watch the interrogation room, but the system locked him out. The moment he tries to step inside, his HUD flashes red with warning alerts. The temple's holy barriers are actively repelling the dark energy in his arm. He realizes his class is literally banned from the inner temple. But instead of complaining, he is completely hyped because a brutally hard route is pure endgame content. Only a fake gamer wants an easy, boring playthrough. It reminds him of the old days, partying with healers who walk on water and shamans who sue players for killing. Classic MMO chat behavior. He walks out into the courtyard realizing he is completely alone. And honestly, without his high-affinity companions, the game suddenly feels a little too quiet. He checks his quest log, waiting for the main interrogation segment to end. Suddenly, footsteps echo behind him, breaking his train of thought. It is Estella, running out of the temple with her eyes sparkling. She is sprinting so fast she is practically kicking up dust. Our guy is convinced she has a literal tracking cheat code installed. He turns around coolly, asking why she isn't watching the prisoner. She admits Gale told her to follow him because the interrogation is basically a reward for demon worshippers anyway. So the old lion basically just dumped his kid on our introvert protagonist. They start walking down the cobblestone path together. He lets out a heavy sigh, trying to stay in character. He asks if the temple only knows how to hunt demons after someone else hands them the map. Estella's eyes widen, her face lighting up with sheer awe. She calls his edgy insult a profound teaching. He is internally sweating. He was literally just trying to find a good grinding spot. He realizes she is that specific kind of hyper-loyal tutorial follower. She is basically a giant, talkative dumpling holding a massive mace, and for a hardcore introvert, this level of energy is physically overwhelming. He points out that the sun is setting, making street interrogation useless. "I am going to the Adventurers Guild," he declares. She gasps, realizing the guild must have a ton of demon-related requests. But internally, he is crying because his roleplay concept literally forbids him from being nice to her. His inner edgelord is forced to treat his favorite character archetype like absolute garbage. It is the most awkward escort mission in video game history. They finally arrive at the Soman branch of the Adventurers Guild. Gale has already caught up, deeply impressed by our guy's practical logic. Kiryu slams his metallic hand on the desk, demanding any quest involving demons. The clerk checks his badge, sweat dropping as he warns him that official requests are rare. He asks if rumor reports work, completely shocked that a terrifying warrior like our guy can even read. He slides over a yellowed paper offering 500,000 gil for a mysterious stench. Kiryu looks at it and deadpans, "I already solved this one." And internally, he is malingering. He wants to know if the temple is going to steal his massive payout. Gale asks the clerk if anyone has vanished recently. Estella whips out her legendary status badge, confirming they are a party. The clerk advises them to ask the Information Guild, but the moment he sees the legendary crests in their hands, his eyes sparkle. He starts digging through every single memory he has. Our guy feels for the man. It is like working the night shift and suddenly having a group of VIP board directors walk in. The clerk remembers a minor detail. The local thieves have been complaining about a lack of pickpockets, and there are suddenly fewer beggars on the dirty street corners. He thinks some disease is spreading through the slums, but before he can finish, Estella slams her fist on the counter with an explosive crash. She screams in a holy rage, furious that the poor are being left to rot. Our guy watches her transform into a red-hot, angry dumpling. He realizes this is a classic, undeniable plot hook. The clerk is shivering, terrified of her righteous fury. Gale asks the clerk to report any further changes to the temple. Our guy is just glad the clerk is a digital asset instead of a real, overworked employee. He turns his back on the counter, heading toward the exit. "The slums," he says coolly. Gale agrees, noting that is where the victims would gather. Estella is completely starry-eyed again, clenching her fists. She sprints after him into the dark streets. Kiryu reflects on the temple's weird HP draining mechanic. He predicts a classic, corrupt church plot twist where they eventually become enemies. He walks down the cobblestone steps with his coat swaying. He can already picture her crying when her beloved church betrays her. And honestly, he is already feeling bad for his future little dumpling. But hey, a dramatic betrayal means an awesome cutscene, so he is completely down for it. His quest log updates with a chime. The quest title drops, "An ominous sign." He needs to find a beggar or a thief. Estella asks if he knows the layout of the slums. He gives a cynical, brooding answer about slums always being identical, but in reality, he is just looking at the glowing red dots on his minimap. Hostile street thugs are basically a GPS navigation line for our guy. He narrows his eyes, focusing on the dark corners of the street. He knows his heavy gothic plate armor is terrible for stealth, but he doesn't care. Their shadows stretch long against the stone walls. They enter the decrepit, rotting district of the slums. They corner a massive, sweat-soaked crime boss. The man is hyperventilating in terror. He is pinned against the wooden wall, his stubbly jaw shaking. Estella gets right in his face, her voice dropping all warmth. She holds her mace to his nose, screaming, "Are you sure the temple took them?" We rewind to a little while ago, showing how they navigated the alleys. The party walks past the dirty brick buildings, looking for a target. Estella's eyes dart to the dark corners, sensing danger. Gale notes the unusual atmosphere, while Kiryu tracks the red minimap dots. He pauses, waiting for a scripted encounter. A dark-haired girl crashes directly into him, attempting a classic pickpocket. She tries to make a run for it, but his heavy silver gauntlet snaps down, clamping around her wrist with a metallic crunch. "Cooperate," he whispers, "and you get to keep your wrists." Our guy is mentally celebratory. He literally baited her by leaving his coin pouch exposed. He explains the basic game design rule about monsters and quest targets. If there are no markers on the map, the quest targets will literally walk right up to you. The girl is cursing her terrible luck. Heavy footsteps click on the stones. Estella towers over her, holding her silver mace high. She quotes scripture, preparing to deliver a brutal, street-level punishment. But Gale gently places a furry hand on her shoulder, telling her to halt. He explains that rules should not be applied blindly to every situation. Estella is outraged, pointing out the girl tried to steal in broad daylight. Gale smiles, telling her she should learn mercy from the Demon Knight. He literally visualizes our edgelord as a serene, one-eyed Buddhist monk. He advises her to watch and learn before drawing her weapon. She looks down, biting her lip in confusion. Our guy is completely flabbergasted by Gale's weird, cross-cultural mental image of him. He jerks the pickpocket up, demanding a chat. "Lead me to the boss of this district," he commands. And that is how they ended up finding the sweaty crime boss. The boss is shivering under Estella's mace, swearing he is telling the truth. He asks why they are surprised, claiming the Inquisitors took them for rehabilitation. Estella draws her fist back in a rage, screaming, "Blasphemy!" She yells that rehabilitation is only allowed under the Grand Temple's strict schedule. Our guy is staring blankly. He wonders if she is seriously arguing about administrative paperwork right now. He realizes this isn't just a minor side quest anymore. The temple is definitely the main focus of this entire storyline. "Since when and how many people did they take?" he demands, stepping forward. The boss stammers that they started coming about a month ago, just taking one or two at a time, quietly, like human traffickers. He quickly panics, trying to call it a metaphor, but the damage is done. Gale steps forward, his expression growing dark. He asks if the kidnappings were regular. The boss nods frantically, saying they came 2 or 3 times a week during set patrol hours. He told everyone in the slums to hide during those hours to survive. Gale looks away, a terrifying realization hitting him. "Sacrifices for the demons!" he whispers. Estella gasps, screaming that the Holy Order would never commit such atrocities. Kiryu looks at her coldly. "Never do such a thing? What naive trash!" He rests his hand on his sword, letting the heavy words hang. "Things happen whether you choose to believe them or not." But internally, the chibi is absolutely thrilled. He loves watching her beliefs shatter because it makes her character multidimensional. It is top-tier writing. He taps his boot, asking where they took the victims. The boss says he only gets reports from the kids, so he doesn't know the exact base. "I know!" a voice speaks up. It is the pickpocket girl. She hasn't run away yet, despite their backs being turned. She clenches her fists, realizing this demon business is highly dangerous for her people. Our guy steps up to her, looking down with a terrifying glare. She flinches, sweat rolling down her face. Internally, he is cooing over how admirable she is. He loves feisty cat-like characters. "Lead the way," he orders. Crows fly screaming over the rotting wooden rooftops. A stray dog gnaws on a carcass in the dark, blood-spattered alley. The girl guides them deeper into the darkness. She warns them that this is the real, lawless back alley area. She tells them under no circumstances should they draw their weapons, as the locals are highly defensive. She glares at Estella, noting the slums absolutely despise people from the Order. Estella snaps back, and Gale is forced to hold her back again. The pickpocket girl scoffs, saying she is only helping because the situation is critical. Our guy watches them hiss at each other like an angry black cat and a red fox. He decides she is a textbook tsundere cat concept. He wonders if calling someone a cat is offensive in a world where beastmen actually exist. But as they walk down the narrow alleyway, a cloaked figure with a green reptile tail crouches on the stone ledge above them. So, the hostile alert is flashing red, and our guy immediately draws his blade. The pickpocket girl panics, screaming at him because she literally just told him not to draw weapons. Kiryu gives her an icy glare that could freeze a volcano. "If you don't want me to draw my sword," he says, looking up, "you should put away yours first." Up on the tiled roof, the cloaked stalker grins, mocking our guy's insane reaction speed. He leaps off the ledge, falling through the night sky. He lands with a soft slide, his white cloak settling around him. He stares at our guy, listing off his features: two-toned hair, a massive silver gauntlet, and a dark red eye patch over the right eye. He bows mockingly. "Greetings, Lord Demon Knight." Estella and Gale draw back, wondering if this green-tailed stranger is an old acquaintance. Kiryu's internal gamer brain is completely stalling. He is trying to remember if this Catman is part of the unskippable lore. He has zero memory of this character. Out loud, he plays it cool, saying he only knows the rogue by his terrible reputation. "Do you want a pat on the back for recognizing me?" he mockingly asks. The rogue chuckles, asking our guy what he is doing in a dump like this. His green eyes narrow as he inspects the group. He calls Estella and Gale God's lapdogs, asking if Kiryu is helping the temple kidnap more beggars. Kiryu is internally losing his mind. He was just thinking how the pickpocket girl looked like a kitten, and now a literal catman shows up to complicate the metaphor. The pickpocket girl steps between them, yelling that they are here to investigate the kidnappings. The rogue's smug smile instantly vanishes. "Wait, you're saying demons took the kids?" His expression turns grim as he connects the dots. "Could the temple really be?" Kiryu cuts him off, telling him they are here to find the truth. Gale steps up, explaining that their trust in the local priesthood has hit rock bottom. He begs the rogue to cooperate so they can prevent further victims. The rogue stands in silence, his long green tail twitching against the stones. He closes his green eyes, considering the offer. With a sharp snap of his fingers, he summons a hidden spy from the shadows, ordering him to report the situation. The spy asks if the rogue is going to guide them alone. "Yeah," the rogue says, "no matter what happens, I can look after myself." The quest log updates with a chime. "Ominous omen, move to the location where people were taken." Kiryu looks at him, trying to remember if this is a standard information guild NPC. "All right then, follow me." The rogue vaults forward, shouting at them to keep up. He sprints across the alleys like a blur. Gale wheezes, sighing about how hard it is to run at his old age. He slams his staff, casting a bright blue haste speed buff over their boots. Kiryu is overjoyed. A speed buff is perfect for his speedrun. He checks his real-life timer, praying he can clear this dungeon before his expensive, full-dive pod session shuts down. They sprint through the quiet commercial district, shadows stretching against the shop fronts. The rogue halts, pointing at a building. "That's the place," Estella gasps, her jaw dropping. "They took the people in there." She is looking at a completely normal, average vegetable shop. Gale closes his eyes, sensing a powerful concealment barrier woven by a master magician. The rogue nods, confirming there is a hidden warehouse and basement sealed by the magic. Our guy's eye flares under his patch. The quest updates: find a way to enter, find traces of the victims. Gale notes that since the barrier is only for concealment, breaking it won't be hard. Kiryu checks his quest log. It doesn't say anything about sneaking or stealth. He draws his blade. "I'm going in." The rogue panics, screaming, "Are you insane?" The rogue yells that they will draw the guards, but Kiryu doesn't care. He walks forward. "Kidnapping is a far worse felony than trespassing. If you are scared, stay back." Truly, the edgelord line of the day. But internally, he is just exhausted and said whatever nonsense popped into his head to skip the stealth segment. He knows the NPCs will follow his lead anyway, so why bother with a quiet entry? The rogue is completely dumbfounded by his suicidal bravery. Gale smiles softly, reminding him they only met our guy a week ago, but Estella's green eyes are literally glowing with pure, unadulterated adoration. She clenches her mace, recalling how they locked up a real demon contractor just yesterday. The rogue is shocked. "A real contractor?" She says that if the temple is indeed colluding with demons to gather sacrifices, then they have absolutely no time to lose. She tells the rogue to hide if he is scared, running after Kiryu. Gale praises her growth while she admits she only learned this conviction by reflecting on the Demon Knight's actions. The rogue is left standing in the alley, watching them go. He scratches his green head, groaning about how reckless these heretics are. His green eyes narrow as he makes a choice. "This job is going to be the death of me!" he screams, sprinting after them. Inside the shop, vegetables are scattered across the wooden floor. Kiryu is standing there, looking incredibly bored as he waits. He already knocked out and tied up all the guards inside. He is waiting for his team, wondering why they took so long to walk through a door. And we get a quick chibi trivia card explaining the physical difference between shaggy snouts and cutie ears. Our guy kicks open the heavy wooden basement door with a splintering crash. He peers down the stone steps. Oh, an underpass. He sniffs the cold air, sensing a regional boss fight. He wants to clear it fast and log out. The party runs in, the rogue completely sweat-dropping that our guy cleared the entire security force in seconds. Kiryu looks back, telling them to back out now if they are going to get cold feet. He marches down the dark stone stairs, his boots clicking in the silence. He stops, sensing a weird physical feedback. A strange, tingling sensation is running up his arms. Estella gasps, her holy aura flaring. "I feel a strong demonic energy below!" She warns them that a dark ritual is actively happening down there. Gale casts another glowing blue haste buff over their boots to accelerate their descent. Kiryu is getting excited. This is his very first party combat in this game. They sprint down the stairs like a cohesive raid unit. He is highly looking forward to testing the AI's combat coordination. The system text chimes, "Soman Hidden Underpass." He kicks the final iron door, the heavy metal padlock shattering in a shower of sparks. The door flies open, slamming against the stone wall. Inside, dark-robed cultists scream in panic as their summoning ritual is interrupted. "Damn it, why now of all times?" one of them yells. They look at the party in horror, mistaking them for the official hero squad. Estella raises her star-shaped shield, her voice echoing, "Your executioner has arrived!" The lead cultist clenches his fist, telling his allies to buy time to finish the summoning. He channels a dark, swirling purple sphere of mana. "Arise, slaves of hell!" he screams, throwing the sphere onto the floor. A pack of bone skeletons rises from the bloodstained stone. Gale asks the rogue to provide covering fire while he channels a high-tier spell. Estella charges forward, her silver shield shining with divine light. Kiryu moves in parallel, his duster coat swaying. "Victory to my sword," he delivers his edgy line. He swings, his dark purple mana slicing through 3 skeletons in one motion. "I will not yield the vanguard," he says, striking a pose. Estella is completely starry-eyed again, her cheeks puffing with inspiration. "You are amazing, sir! But this is too much," she screams. Her emerald eyes flash with absolute fiery determination. She slams her giant shield into the ground, creating a shockwave that shatters the remaining bone monsters. But internally, Kiryu's gamer brain is crying tears of blood. "No! If you kill them, I don't get the experience points!" His EXP bar is barely moving. He glares at the cultists, pointing his sword at them. The lead cultist is trembling, staring at our guy's face in absolute disbelief. A dark swirling shadow rises behind the summoner, whispering dark words. The cultist screams, "Gretchen! You will pay for your betrayal! Make him the first sacrifice!" He channels a massive wave of black magic. A torrent of dark, screaming phantoms surges directly toward Kiryu. Gale and the rogue yell in absolute panic, warning him to dodge. Estella screams "No!" as the darkness engulfs our protagonist. But as the black mist clears, Kiryu stands completely unscathed, his dark crimson eye glowing through his white hair. He leaps high into the air, clearing the thrashed skeletons. He spins, preparing a massive downward strike. Estella is completely awestruck, her face lit with pure admiration. Kiryu smirks. This setup is actually perfect for his skill set. He draws his greatsword back, channeling his entire mana pool. "Ground! Crash!" He slams his sword down, creating a massive explosion of purple energy that shatters the entire stone floor. Estella is blown back, using her shield to block the flying debris. "Such incredible power!" she gasps, her hair whipping in the wind. The cultist leader is sent flying through the air, screaming "Gretchen!" in sheer, unadulterated terror. Kiryu lands smoothly, his dark aura crackling around his boots. His crimson eye reflects the bleeding, crying summoner on the floor. The terrified cultists try to summon more skeletons, screaming for them to kill him. but Kireo is already moving like a shadow, his blade slicing through their defenses. The summoner is crawling backward, crying for his life. He reaches out toward a hidden magic portal on the wall. Kireo towers over him, his face cold. Fall into the deepest depths of hell. Vermin. He delivers a clean, swift vertical slash. The cultists collapse onto the stone floor, their blood pooling around the summoning circle. Kireo looks down at the glowing red runes on the floor. But as the blood touches the ritual circle, the ancient symbols flare up with a blinding, ominous red light. Honestly, I thought this trash dungeon was about to brick my entire character. But look at this. The game just handed me a master tier DPS skill. Wait, gamers, you know the rule. If a developer gives you overpowered gear early, it means the upcoming boss is about to ruin your mental health. Anyway, let's see how my AI squad is holding up. Estella is currently swinging her mace like she is trying to hit a home run. She charges directly into the mob line, delivering a skull-shattering reality check to a nearby cultist. She yells at Gale to start contributing to the team's DPS. Our majestic lion archmage gets the hint. He lifts his golden staff, summoning a massive blue spell matrix, and unloads a literal ocean of blue fire across the room. The mobs scream as the blue flames completely melt their health bars. Our guy just stands there in the middle of the fire, looking like a dark lord, realizing he might have muttered his nerdy gaming thoughts out loud. The team gathers, looking at him like he just delivered a profound silent sermon. Even our green-tailed rogue friend is completely starstruck. Estella sighs, wishing they had kept at least one target alive for questioning. Kireo doesn't say a word. He just walks over and plants his boot directly onto a survivor. It is the unhinged cultist leader, bloody and gasping, calling our guy Gretchen again. The cultist babbles about some mysterious majesty, but Kireo lifts him by the collar, dropping his best edgelord dialogue. "Shut your mouth! I have no name for trash like you!" The cultist just smiles, blood dripping from his lips. He starts laughing like a maniac. He yells that they are all just being discarded anyway, but reaches his hand out with his final breath. "Our king is still waiting!" And he drops dead. Right on schedule. Estella suddenly gasps as the room temperature drops. She screams at the demon knight to fall back. The cultist's blood is reacting with the summoning circle on the stone floor. The runes flare up with a blinding, toxic red light. A massive column of dark energy explodes directly in front of our guy. The shockwave sends him flying back, but Estella leaps ahead, planting her star shield to block the dark impact. She asks if he is okay. Internally, he is crying because his spine is literally broken. Even with lower pain settings, this full dive feedback is brutal. Gale and the rogue just watch them, completely sweat-dropping at the drama. Out of the red portal rises a colossal serpentine water demon, a knocker. Our guy realizes this is an unskippable boss cutscene. The monster's golden eye locks onto the party. It lets out a deafening roar, lunging straight down with massive venomous fangs. Estella doesn't run. She steps forward. She raises her shield, begging her lord for strength. Her green eyes burn with absolute zeal. The giant fangs slam into her shield with a massive shockwave. She lets out a battle cry, holding the line against a monster 10 times her size. Kireo is watching this from the side. His gamer brain is literally short-circuiting. Why did she block that instead of just sidestepping? This is peak DPS brain versus tank brain. The rogue sweat drops, wondering why our guy is just staring. The rogue asks Gale if this lizard has a weakness. Gale says it's a knocker, so aim for the head. That is all our guy needs to hear. Since she did all the hard work tanking, it is time to do his job as the main DPS. He dashes forward, launching himself into the air, aiming his sword straight at the beast's neck. His crimson eye flares with dark energy. Breaker. A single vertical wave of purple shadow energy slices through the air. The giant head cleanly slides off the neck. A fountain of dark blood paints the walls, and our guy lands, completely baffled by his own damage numbers. The giant dragon head crashes onto the floor, completely lifeless. The surviving cultists are losing their minds. How did he one-shot a high-tier demon? Those scales are supposed to be as hard as refined steel. Internally, Kireo is screaming, "I have no idea how I did that either!" He starts mentally writing a complaint to the developers. Most players enjoy breaking down phase mechanics, not skipping the entire boss fight with a single basic skill. Seriously, What were the developers thinking? In the original game, this boss had actual fight phases, but before he can file a bug report, the headless neck starts moving. A giant tail whips around from his blind spot. The air splits as the massive strike comes down, but our green-tailed rogue leaps in, parrying the tail with his daggers. He lands, telling our guy to pay attention to his surroundings. Kireo realizes he got too distracted by his own internal developer rant. But looking at this NPC in the light, his gamer brain lights up. That is the official appearance of the advanced thief class. The rogue sweat drops under his silent, intense stare and backs away slowly. Kireo keeps his cool edgelord face on. He will recruit this guy for his party later. For now, he needs to put this headless zombie dragon down. He remembers the actual gimmick. Decapitation was a trap. Its real weakness is a specific spot. The reverse scale. Standard Eastern dragon lore, a scale growing in the opposite direction. Normally, you have to chip away its HP bar to expose it, which is pointlessly tedious. He raises his sword. Your struggle ends here. He wanted to use a cool thrusting skill, but he didn't learn one, so he casts Ground Crash. He slams his sword down, releasing a massive purple shockwave that splits the stone floor, shattering the surrounding area, and somehow, the impact hits the reverse scale perfectly. The colossal beast crumbles, turning into glittering dust. He stands there looking cool, but he is utterly confused. How did a downward smash trigger a precise piercing strike? He definitely used Ground Crash. He opens his skill tree. He was short on skill points, so he couldn't learn the thrusting skill Stinger, but the moment he regretted it, the game's autocorrect system executed it anyway. He wonders if it's a server bug. Suddenly, a tied-up cultist screams, "Gretchen!" Estella is holding the tied-up survivor, who is screaming about betraying the king. She asks the demon knight if he wants to execute this sinner himself. Kireo decides to worry about the system bugs later. For now, he keeps the edgelord roleplay going. Keep crying, trash. He walks over slowly. His heavy boots clack against the bloody stone. He points his red glowing sword directly at the cultist's face. Let's see how much pain you can take. But Gale raises his hand, interrupting. Gale politely asks him to keep the corpse intact as evidence for the temple audit. Gale's sweat drops. The edgelord execution is completely ruined. Our guy sighs internally. Fine. Whatever. He swings his sword and decapitates the cultist cleanly. Estella tells them they need to clear out the rest of the basement, but the green-tailed rogue steps forward. He looks at the party with a heavy heart. Can I ask a favor? Let me take one of them alive. He looks at the corpses on the floor. His family and fellow slum dwellers are among them. He wants to give the survivors a chance at revenge. Estella immediately objects. The temple law forbids private revenge. She says they will hold a proper memorial prayer service at the temple instead. The rogue scoffs bitterly. A prayer service? In the very temple that sacrificed them? Estella gets defensive, yelling that other temples will audit this one and clean it up. The rogue smiles mockingly. You expect me to believe that? They start arguing back and forth, law versus street justice. The rogue grows incredibly angry, his fangs bared, but suddenly Kireo kicks the tied-up cultist directly into his face. Kireo cold glares them both. Take him, he looks at Estella. If you knights actually enforce the law in the slums, these bugs wouldn't be here. Estella's eyes widen, completely speechless. Kireo tells the rogue to keep the cultist locked down. If he escapes, you're next. The rogue nervously agrees. A system prompt flashes, quest ominous omen updated. Move to the temple and find the traitors. Kireo is thrilled. The main quest is finally wrapping up. He notices Estella looking at him with intense, teary-eyed admiration. He internally calls her my little kimchi dumpling. But his physical body is completely exhausted. He's ready to jump into his real-world bed. He opens his UI and selects the logout button. A red error message pops up, command unavailable. He spams it again. Command unavailable. Command unavailable. Our guy's eyes freeze in sheer absolute horror. Huh? So, our guy is currently standing in a dark hallway, spamming his logout button like a League player trying to surrender at 15 minutes. But the game is having none of it. His screen is just a wall of flashing red error messages. A logout error in a hyper-realistic VR game. If this gets leaked on Reddit, the developers are absolutely cooked. Estella stands there, completely oblivious to his digital existential dread, asking if his dark vision is detecting some hidden demonic threat. He doesn't answer because he is busy looking at a UI screen she cannot see. Gale watches him, marveling at how a human can suppress such immense dark mana without turning into a brain-dead zombie. Estella grips her weapon, her knuckles turning white as she waits for his next move. Our guy finally turns around and Estella frantically asks where he is going. He delivers a cold, brooding line about executing the corrupted who sold their souls to demons, but internally, he is literally just chanting log out like a sacred mantra. Gale asks Estella if she feels any unstable demonic energy radiating from him, but she says everything is calm. She genuinely believes he is fighting a silent war in his own mind. She looks at his retreating back with absolute starry-eyed reverence. Gale turns to our green-tailed rogue friend, remarking on how the mysterious demon knight is not exactly a conversationalist. The rogue just shrugs, calling himself a simple bandit who lives by his wits. Estella immediately snaps, telling him to watch his tongue in front of holy representatives. Gale sighs, then asks the rogue what they should do with the captured cultist contractor. The rogue casually suggests cutting off his tongue and limbs to keep him quiet, which is a bit extreme for a PG-13 stream. Gale tells him that demons operate on a different power scale, so regular mutilation might not work. Estella looks back at the bloodstained altar, then starts heading up the stone steps. The staircase feels endless, but she is fueled entirely by pure, unadulterated righteous fury. The scene shifts as the morning sun hits the commercial district of Somon. The party walks through the quiet streets, looking like a highly mismatched MMO squad. The rogue jogs up to Kirayo, telling him that bandits never forget a grudge, but they also never forget a favor. Kirayo doesn't even look back, cold glaring the pavement. He says he doesn't need his favors, because what he actually needs is a functional logout button before his physical bladder explodes in the real world. A system prompt flashes, updating the main quest to find the traitors within the temple. The rogue bids them farewell, while Kirayo tries to wrap his head around this catastrophic glitch. The settings menu is completely unresponsive. He is officially soft-locked. He spams the interface with his armored gauntlet, but nothing changes. And then, the real panic sets in. He remembers his life outside the pod. He lives alone, he is a webtoon author with no immediate deadlines, and he bragged to all his friends that he'd be offline grinding this game for weeks. No one is coming to check on him. No one is going to pull him out of the capsule. He tries to calm down. The hardware must have safety features, right? Every high-end full-dive pod has a physical emergency stop button on the outside. He screams at the system console, trying to trigger the hardware's voice-activated force quit protocol. The system responds with the exact same red error message. Now he is physically screaming at the sky in the middle of a public street. Estella and Gale watch in absolute horror as their mysterious, silent leader begins howling at the clouds. Temple guards in the distance hear the commotion and start running toward them. Estella panics, thinking the demon sealed in his right arm has finally shattered his sanity. She looks at his agonizing face, realizing she has been blind to his internal suffering this entire time. She moves. She vaults through the air, her crimson bob flying as she prepares to administer some highly aggressive physical therapy. A massive, white-trimmed star shield slams directly into his face with a heavy impact. Our guy is sent flying backward, a clean trail of blood leaking from his nose. He is completely flabbergasted. Why did his low pain setting suddenly fail, and why did his healer just attempt to decimate his health bar? Estella lands, a gentle, warm smile on her face, noting that his dark arm seems to have calmed down now. She proudly declares that she successfully suppressed the wild demon inside him. Our guy just sits on the dirt, looking like a highly confused puppy. She beats her chest, shouting that she will never doubt his noble heart. Her green eyes sparkle with absolute blinding trust. She raises her heavy silver mace, vowing that she will personally buy him time whenever his internal demon tries to take over. He just stares at her, his brain completely shutting down. He slowly turns his head to Gale, asking if this girl is medically stable. Gale looks incredibly serious, matching her energy. He asks Kirayo if he is truly alright. Kirayo realizes these high-tier AIs have completely written their own fanfiction about his panic attack. But then, he remembers the truth. If he admits he was just crying over a broken UI bug, his legendary Demon Knight roleplay is completely ruined. His otaku soul cannot allow that. So he stands up, wipes the blood off his cheek, and delivers a cold dismissal about not wasting time on fools. Gale steps forward, his majestic blue robe sweeping the dust, his beastkin fangs bared slightly. He demands to know if his dark arm is truly secure. Kirayo narrows his crimson eye, asking if the old mage is suddenly offended by his dark energy. Gale says it's not about prejudice, it's about the literal nuclear option sealed in his gauntlet. Kirayo scoffs, stating that his only goal is to hunt demons, and nothing else matters. He tells him that their alliance only exists because their targets align. He advises the lion to spend less time talking and more time swinging his staff. Gale ignores the bite, asking point blank if there is a chance he will lose his humanity to the beast. Before he can answer, Estella steps between them with her massive shield, screaming that such a thing is impossible. She says she believes in the demon knight's sanity and iron will. She delivers a passionate, emotional speech about how humans are incomplete and must carry each other's burdens. The morning light catches her red hair, making her look like a genuine saintess. She resolves to stand by his side until the very end. Kireo looks at her and lets out a soft sigh. He casually asks about her eyes, trying to deflect the heavy atmosphere. And then, he literally turns around and sprints away at full speed. Internally, his otaku heart is screaming. Having a top-tier waifu offer her absolute unconditional love and trust is the ultimate critical hit to his gamer soul. He is ready to die for this NPC. He decides the logout bug can wait. Keeping this immaculate roleplay alive is now his life's mission. Gale sighs, complaining that sprinting after edgelords at dawn is literal elder abuse. He watches them run, then catches up to Estella, asking if she is absolutely sure about this guy. He points out that the dark magic they witnessed underground was insanely volatile. If that demon takes him over, Gale lacks the confidence to put him down. Estella looks back at him, her expression softening. She admits that, for a split second, she saw genuine mortal fear in the demon knight's eyes. She imagines the dark, suffocating weight he must carry every single day. She remembers her holy training, reminding herself that fear is where the dark entities feed. She knows she doesn't have the power to purify his arm, but she wants to ease his pain anyway. She vows to use her martial prowess to act as his shield against the dark. Gale watches her, letting out a defeated, proud sigh. He smiles, agreeing to add his old bones to her cause. Meanwhile, Kireo is standing near the temple gates, wondering why his squad is taking so long to catch up. He can't enter the cathedral alone because his dark arm will immediately trigger the defensive holy wards. The scene shifts inside the grand sunlit cathedral. The local priests whisper nervously, watching the ominous, dark-clad knight standing near the back. Suddenly, a heavy staff slams onto the marble pulpit with an echoing ring. Estella stands at the high altar, her green eyes cold as ice. The head priest steps forward, sweat dripping, confirming that almost everyone has gathered. She looks down at them, her face cast in deep shadow. She officially declares the commencement of a heresy trial under her supreme authority as an inquisitor. The priests look around in absolute panic as the cathedral doors slam shut. She announces that everyone in this room will have their souls tested for sin, and those who are pure will walk free. But those who betrayed their oaths and colluded with demons will receive immediate rightful judgment. A system prompt flashes, "Find the traitors." Kireo watches from the shadows, realizing his little dumpling companion is about to start a literal holy purge, and he's the one who has to make sure they survive the fallout. Estella's heresy trial officially kicks off, and by trial, I mean she is literally smashing holy light into the floor like a paladin on a caffeine rush. She tells them to prove their devotion, and the sheer impact of her mace shatters the altar, leaving the suspect pool entirely terrified. One of the corrupt priests starts shaking, realizing they are completely outmatched. They scream that their cover is blown and scramble toward the exit, hoping they can outrun a holy inquisitor. Our main quest screen flashes, updating to "Eliminate all traitors." And who is standing at the back exit? Our guy. The escaping priests run straight into his path, and he unloads a single horizontal shadow slash that turns the cathedral corridor into a literal paint job. The survivors instantly freeze, staring at this towering edgelord covered in their friend's blood. They start blubbering, realizing they are cornered by a monster. They try to look for another exit, but our guy just steps forward. His red eye glows in the dark, looking like an absolute menace. But internally, he is literally gagging. His mouth tastes like he just licked a handful of rusty pennies. The developers made the sensory settings for blood way too realistic. He is mentally yelling at the game design team. Why is there so much production budget spent on the taste of hemoglobin? He can't even open his mouth to speak without ruining his cool points, so he just stands there watching Estella handle the trial. Suddenly, a soft thud echoes from the back door. A pair of green cat ears peeks through the gap. It is our green-tailed rogue friend, dropping in with a bright smile. He greets his lord with a playful tone, completely ignoring the pool of blood on the floor. Kireo gives him a silent, threatening glare, signaling that their business should have ended with the boss fight. He asks if the rogue came back to confess his own crimes. The rogue just grins, saying that would be impossible unless he suddenly sprouted extra ears. Instead, he drags out 7 tied-up gagged priests he caught sneaking out the side. He proudly asks if our guy still thinks his favors are useless. Kiryu looks at the bound traitors, and his edgy persona instantly crumbles in his own mind. The quest window updates, showing the elimination count rising. His internal otaku brain completely melts. He literally visualizes this green rogue as a cute domestic house cat bringing dead mice to its owner as a thank you gift. This is his ultimate weakness. He is ready to adopt this cat immediately. The scene cuts to midnight outside the gloomy Somin Cathedral. The heresy interrogation continues long past dark. Those who freed the cultist are executed on the spot, while the rest undergo rigorous testing. The church rules state that God strips holy power from corrupt souls, so priests prove their innocence by summoning glowing golden light, though the magicless ones require intensive questioning. Since our guy is a dark class with absolutely zero holy magic, he is completely useless here. He stands outside under a tree, letting out a heavy sigh, clutching his head in pure panic over his broken logout function. He tries to figure out the science of full dive systems. Usually, if a player's physical body falls asleep or passes out in the capsule, the brain stops perceiving the game. And by his calculations, his pod's nutrient fluid should have run dry by now. If he pushed his body to the absolute limit, his physical form back home should have lost consciousness. But he is still standing here, completely awake. He starts coping, convincing himself that he probably just did the math wrong because he was never a science major. He decides to stop overthinking it and just trust that the servers will reboot eventually. Estella walks out of the cathedral, thanking him for his patience. He asks if the local corruption has been handled. She says yes, for the first stage. She explains that city forces will watch the suspects until a Grand Inquisitor arrives from the capital. The green rogue drops down from a branch, asking if that is really safe. He admits he doesn't trust the local guards or the church. Estella defends them, arguing that under proper supervision, a trained army can easily suppress any normal collaborators. The rogue spins around, mockingly asking if she really is that naive. Estella clears her throat, saying she would like to see this trial through to the end, but she cannot take charge of the city. She has her own main quest mission that takes priority. The rogue stares at her, completely dumbfounded by her stubbornness. Kiryu watches them, noting that the rogue's face is screaming, "This girl is hopeless." He shrugs internally. She is just programmed with that classic naive paladin personality. But looking at the situation, he agrees with the cat. The temple cannot be trusted right now. He mutters that they had better hope the incoming capital inquisitors aren't dirty too. Estella clenches her fist, swearing that the church will clean up this mess. The rogue scoffs, suggesting that the newcomers might just cover for their buddies, making Estella snap at him again. But Gale interrupts, placing a heavy white claw on Estella's shoulder. The lion archmage turns his golden eyes directly toward the rogue. He notes that when they first met, the rogue seemed to know exactly who they were. And this time, he conveniently caught every single escaping traitor before the trial even started. Gale's face goes cold as he steps forward, asking if they should put this helpful little cat in the interrogation chair next.